right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hello and welcome into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood. Kind of a blowout we're watching right now in this NFC divisional game between the 49ers and Seahawks. Seahawks just up big right now, but quite the different story in that AFC divisional game that we had aired right here on KDKA. Came down to once again Bills, Josh Allen's situation in overtime, coming up short yet again. I just feel so bad for Josh Allen and this team. You know, this was the year that he was going to do it. The AFC was wide open. Pat Mahomes, who's kind of his boogeyman, was out and then not involved. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, he didn't have to face any of these guys. Early exit, and yet they come up short again. I will say that catch by Brandon Cooks, though, should have been ruled a catch or at least reviewed. I think that was kind of crazy there in overtime. They ended up giving the ball back to the Broncos. They ended up scoring and winning, and that's how kind of what put the final nail in the coffin for the Bills, which is so unfortunate because I feel like such a big play like that.
Yeah, I mean, the officiating, the pass interference calls, a lot of those were 50-50, can go either way. Ultimately went against the Bills in the end. But how about that play at the end of the first half where he just sort of lost his mind and, tried to lateral the ball back to somebody at the end and ends up handing the Broncos a 50-yard field goal for an extra 3 points that certainly loomed large in that game. Genuinely one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen by maybe the best player in the NFL right now, all things considered. So that means I'm going to have to change my Super Bowl pick. And at the risk of having another team that I put my money on eliminated within 24 hours, I think I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. Does that sound crazy to you?
I mean, honestly, no, especially considering, the Seahawks look awesome right now.
They do.
I will say that.
They were my NFC championship pick coming into the postseason, so I guess I still feel good about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it ended up being the Seahawks and the Texans, but the Texans defense is just so elite that, I would have to agree with you. I think that is a very safe pick. But yeah, at the end of the day for the Bills, you can't turn the ball over 4 times in regulation, 5 times total, and expect to come out with a win. So very unfortunate. And I just hate, again, it came down to that one play with Brandon Cooks, kind of like he makes that catch. Who knows? Maybe they pull out this win. But as we always say, you can't really point to one play.
In one of those turnovers, though, again, I'll point to one play on this one was Josh Allen rolling the ball back like me throwing a grounder to my kid at T-ball practice or something. And it's his birthday today, by the way, too. So shout out to Dawson Batko.
Aww.
Happy 6th birthday to him. He was rooting for the Bills, so that was a bummer. But now I think he's also enamored with the Texans now after the way they beat up on the Steelers. So these are crucial times in the formative years for a young football fan.
Yeah, that is very true. Very formative years, definitely. And hey, I think it would be kind of a feather in the cap a little bit for the Steelers if they ended up losing to the eventual Super Bowl champs. So I think for Steelers fans, maybe they are kind of rooting for that.
Well, also for Steelers fans now, with what the Seahawks are doing to the 49ers, one of their preliminary candidates or targets to replace Mike Tomlin, 49ers offensive coordinator Clay Kubiak, his season's about to be over, and he's about to be able to hit the ground running with this head coach interview process for the Steelers. So that's one thing to keep an eye on in the fallout of tonight's action.
Yeah, and I know the Niners don't look great right now, guys. I know the offense doesn't look great, but they are riddled with injuries. Of course, Kittle out with the Achilles, and then his backup also looked like he might have snapped his Achilles. Thankfully, I think it was just a foot injury.
Christian McCaffrey going down again.
Yeah, it's not good on the injury side for the Niners. So I do think the Seahawks are going to end up pulling this one out. But at the end of the day, it's just been such exciting NFL playoffs, this season. I think all of these nail biters in the fourth quarter where it's going back and forth. I think, I forget the stat. I think it's been 12 lead changes in the fourth quarter through these playoffs so far. So it's been very exciting. It's been very, very fun to watch. Guys, this is our Penn West University question of the night. Who of the remaining teams will win the AFC? Pretty straight up, Broncos, Patriots, or Texans. Let your voice be heard there. Yeah, the Patriots too, Brian. The Texans are hot. It would be good if the Texans like I said, went to the Super Bowl because then that's kind of a feather in the Steelers' cap. They lost to the eventual Super Bowl champs, but
and no one in Pittsburgh wants to see the Patriots. And nobody in Pittsburgh wants to see the Patriots play for another Super Bowl, I don't think.
It's scary. We've been traumatized by Tom Brady for decades, and now it looks like they haven't skipped a beat.
Yeah, Drake May could be the next one. But, I mean, speaking of that game tomorrow, too, I mean, with me putting, my belief in the Texans, that hinges on C.J. Stroud not being the C.J. Stroud that we saw Monday night right over here at Acrisure Stadium. I mean, that game needs to be a wake-up call to him because Gillette Stadium is going to be another very hostile environment tomorrow in that game against the Patriots, who are going to be, rested and ready a little bit more. I know the Texans had to turn around and play on 1 day less rest. So, I mean, that's got to be – Stroud needs to take a step forward and prove that he can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He can't have another game like he had against the Steelers. They basically won in spite of him, but I still think he can do it. I think he can do enough that defense will sort of rule the day and Stroud will improve.
Yeah, it's also very exciting at the end of the day for Mike Vrabel. I mean, Vrabes goes back to be the head coach of his former team, and now look, they're, contending. Sure. So very impressive by him. All right, guys, we are going to head to our first break. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. We will be right back after this. And remember, to scan your phone up there, tap the QR code, and you can also vote there. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night from the NHL legends, Sidney Crosby and Gino. Tonight was the final game in the 3-game homestand for the Pens. They hosted Columbus, Chinnikov's old team. Igor Chinnikov came here to Pittsburgh at the beginning of the month and faced his former team tonight. And this game ended up going into a shootout, and Chinnikov had to go up against his former goalie, and he got a goal. It was very impressive the way he scored that, but then unfortunately Sid's goal was saved and Letang's goal was saved, so they ended up losing in a shootout yet again. It's unfortunate, Brian, because for the past year, they've really struggled in the shootout. We all know this, but it felt like they snapped that skid a little bit a couple weeks ago, but now it just looks like it's kind of back on. Really quick though, and I just lost it. Dang. Oh yeah, Brian, have you seen some of these post-game locker room interviews with these guys? It is so heart-wrenching. Like Brandon Cooks, I started crying watching that. I just feel so bad. All of them are coming out on Twitter and stuff right now, and it really looks like a funeral.
I mean, Cooks has been there for a few minutes in Buffalo, but yeah, obviously he understands what that franchise has gone through. I mean, they're a cursed team. You go back to the 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses and now this current iteration of the Bills with Josh Allen leading the way. It's just that game that we watched earlier today, I feel like I've seen so many versions of it. The opponent changes, the specifics change, but they always seem to come out on the wrong end of it. And, also in NFL news tonight, it's being reported a lot of places. Kevin Stefanski is going to go from the Browns to the Falcons to be the new head coach in Atlanta. So that's a second domino to fall in the coaching carousel, although not really one that we thought was going to have any sort of impact on the Steelers one way or the other. But, that's one of their candidates potentially who won't go to the Dirty Birds. And we had somebody tweet us, Yinzer McGuire, say, why aren't the Steelers interviewing Clint Kubiak, the other brother who is on the right end of this shellacking right now in 49ers Seahawks round 3? I can't disagree with you, Yinzer McGuire. He seems like a very good candidate in this cycle.
Yeah, maybe they can extend that. But it is interesting. 3 of the 4 AFC North coaches leave their teams, and Harbaugh officially today signed his deal with the New York Giants. And yeah, Stefanski going down to Atlanta. So
I don't think the third coach ousted or departing is going to land somewhere else. Mike Tomlin was at another Georgia sporting event tonight. Apparently he was at Arkansas, Georgia basketball in Athens.
Yeah,
so he's taking in the sports. He's enjoying college life again.
Yeah, all these people think he might go into TV, might do all this stuff. I think honestly he's just going to take the year off. Wouldn't you? I mean, gosh.
I don't know. I can't get into Mike's head. I mean, neither one would surprise me if he felt like, hey, I'll be bored sitting at home. Why don't I go out there and make some money and do this, whole TV thing and have some fun with that, try something new. But it also wouldn't shock me if he does just want to get away for a little bit, go off the grid, get out of the pressure cooker that is NFL coaching, and then decide around this time next year if he wants to get back into it. And that even might depend on what kind of jobs come open and what opportunities might await for him.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, let's get out to the phone lines. We have Tom in Washington. Tom, what's going on?
Not much. How are you two doing this evening?
Good.
Doing well, Tom. Thanks.
Brian, happy birthday to your son.
Thank you,
This is
Tom.
a wonderful age.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is, I noticed something when the Steelers game and again tonight with the Bills game. Right tackles seem to be getting away with dropping their outside leg back. When the quarterback calls for the ball, and particularly when they're in a shotgun, before the center gets it back, you have all these right tackles seem to have this thing where they just want to kick their right leg back because these ends are coming, and linebackers, whatever, are coming at them so fast. Why are they not getting called, or is that just the basic whatever is going on with the referees because they did not have a good game?
I will say this, Tom. I mean, it's so hard to officiate down in the trenches at the line of scrimmage. I mean, we know how often T.J. Watt gets chip blocked. Like, I mean, we see it happen all the time. And those calls are also missed calls. I mean, how often does T.J. get a call going his way up front? I mean, it doesn't happen. So I think it's just at the end of the day, it's really hard to officiate at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, if you remember, though, I mean, there was one in the first half against the Texans. I think it was right after the delay of game, or maybe they called a timeout because the crowd was so fired up at Acrisure to avoid a delay of game. And then I think their right tackle, Trent Brown, false started anyway. So it got called. And so you do see it occasionally. But, yeah, I mean, they go through these points of emphasis every offseason of what they need to look for. Obviously, some of the ones that you're seeing from home, you might think, hey, that's egregious. But the official doesn't necessarily agree. But, yeah, I'm with you, though. In general, I've seen it a lot more over the years in the NFL. These right tackles are trying to get any little edge they can so that they aren't a turnstile out there in front of their quarterback.
Yeah, well, and the edge players, too. I mean, it's just, yeah, as they've evolved, so have the tackles. All right, let's go to Joe and Allison. Joe.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, good.
Hey, Joe.
I was just curious if the Steelers might get a coach from the 49ers at all.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that a little bit ago. I do think Clay Kubiak is going to be interviewed. I mean, obviously, he hasn't had a chance to yet, playing in this game right now. I do think eventually that will happen. And like I've said, Brian, and we talked about this a little bit last night off camera, but I just think, like, they're interviewing all of these defensive-heavy head coaches, defensive-minded head coaches, and that's what they've done in the past over and over again. And I do think the league has changed so much. It's such a quarterback-focused league, quarterback-driven league. They control everything, and I think it's so important to find someone who's able to find and develop a quarterback in this league and someone who's heavily offensive-minded. And they've tried the defensive thing. They had the highest paid defense last year, and look where they ended up first round out. So, I'm more of a proponent of trying to get someone in here who's more offensive minded and then getting a solid DC in here. But history shows us that's probably not what ownership is going to do.
I completely agree with you, Cassidy. And to Joe's point, Clay Kubiak is one that they've already requested to interview, who is the offensive coordinator under Kyle Shanahan, which means you're not really calling the plays because Shanahan's handling that as the head coach, but you've got the responsibility of being his right-hand man there.
And you're learning under him for so long.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And Clay Kubiak's got an interesting background. I think it was just 6 years ago he was a high school coach in the Houston area, and then he decides to get into the NFL and sort of skyrockets in that Shanahan tree. But, also their defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh's got a lot of interviews. He's trying to go that route of bouncing back as a head coach after flaming out with the Jets, and tonight is not going well for his unit. But I'm with you, Cassidy. I think an offensive coach is sort of what this organization needs right now because you're in the wilderness at quarterback. We've seen that post-Ben. It was sort of easy for Bill Cowher to hand it off to Mike Tomlin because Ben was entrenched as this organization's quarterback. Now, you might need to do more with less at that position. And I just have a lot more optimism of an offensive-minded guy doing that than a defensive-minded guy.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, guys, we're going to head to our next break. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. Remember, too, you can vote on that Penn West University question of the night. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood, joined alongside Brian Backhoe. And Brian, coaching carousel still continues. The Steelers requested to interview 8 candidates. So far, Jeff Hathley was also one of the ones that they wanted to speak to, but some reports coming out today that he looks like the front runner in Miami. Yeah, I mean, the Packers assistant GM or somebody in their front office is now going to be the Dolphins GM, so that's a very clear link to that one. I think we said last night that, I'd give my choice, at least for right now, so I should do that to pay it off. I would go with Nate Shieldhouse, the Sean McVay disciple with the Rams, offensive-minded. I think he's in probably the best organization in football, and he's young, energetic. That would be my choice as of the names we know right now. And, I will say, we just spent some time talking about not getting a DC in here, but in a perfect world, it would be pretty cool to get Chris Shula in here as head coach and maybe Shieldhouse in here as the OC. That would be... Yeah, then you might lose him in a year, but, hey, that would be up to the head coach at that point, and they'd be putting a lot of trust in Shula. Agree with you there. All right, Brian, thank you so much for joining me tonight, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night and great rest of your weekend. I'll see you next time, same place, same time.